here today. So my name is Guerra, and I'm the CEO for a company called Altus, and so we're a startup located right here in Starting Block, in a proud company in Wisconsin. And so we are members of the Business for Democracy Collaborative. And so this collaborative is comprised of both small businesses, individuals that really just support democracy and building a strong economy. And we understand how important that is for everybody to flourish. And we know that growth will come from thriving small businesses. So we're raising a concern about losing our democracy today because some state legislatures have or want to allow state and national officials to ignore the will of voters. And we just think that's wrong. We think a stable democracy is what creates a strong economy, which is what allows us to flourish. Now, the Business for Democracy State Collaborative uses the trusted voice of small businesses. You know, the reality is a lot of our small businesses, not-for-profit leaders, we play a pivotal role in the community. And it's an opportunity for us to raise awareness and engage those that we work with on a daily basis. And so what we're doing is we're trying to encourage our folks to support voting reforms and to really support candidates that support voting reforms. And so let me stress that we are actually not endorsing any candidates. All that we're trying to do is we're trying to raise the profile of these voting reforms and to make sure voters understand the positions that their elected officials will take. So with that, what I'd like to introduce is Camille Carter, who's the president and CEO for the African American Chamber of Commerce here in Madison. So Camille.
Thank you so much, Dan. Again, as Dan mentioned, I am Camille Carter. I'm the president and CEO of the Madison Black Chamber of Commerce, where we represent over 600 Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs throughout Madison and Dane County. We help them to start, grow, and scale businesses to ensure that they are a part of this thriving, beautiful economic community here in Wisconsin. So democracy is essential for our business community. All of us benefit from a state and a nation that gives equal opportunities for us to pursue our dreams and to become entrepreneurs and open small businesses. This is possible because of a strong democracy that allows us to pick our leaders who listen to our voices in the policy-making decisions. As a community, the ability of voters to command the attention of politicians is especially important to minority-owned businesses. Entrepreneurship is the key to economic success and the wealth building of underserved communities. If we allow democracy to slip away from us into a one-party and autocracy system, politicians won't have to listen to the voters, small businesses, and to the communities in which they serve. They will have locked-in power to manipulate and change voting laws. Politicians who are not interested in what voters think are free to make policy decisions purely based on gaining more power and more money for the self-interest groups and contributors that support them. They will also have no restrictions on acting on any prejudices that they may have towards minorities. We must go into this voting season with intentionality to engage. Because of the ability to influence policy, racial minority entrepreneurs could once again see the doors shut on equal opportunities to start and grow businesses. This is why we support protecting democracy. We are proud members of the Wisconsin Democracy for Business Collaborative. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan.
So we appreciate Camille's support and participation for the Chamber and her leadership there. And again, it just tells us how important a good, stable economy is for growing businesses. And that's all businesses here in Madison and throughout Wisconsin. So next, I'd like to introduce Mathias with the Latino Professional Association. Mathias?
Hello, my name is Mathias Castillo. I am the board secretary for the Latino Professional Association. We're a 501c3 nonprofit with over 10 years of excellence supporting the Latinx community and Latinx business owners here in Lake County. I want to thank Camille for her comments. I really agree with what she shared, because the voices of small businesses are heard today by those seeking public office. Entrepreneurs can have that confidence in our government. As a result, the United States has a vibrant entrepreneurial economy that is very different from the rest of the world. Growing a local economy from the ground up by entrepreneurs of color, willing to work hard, invest, and sacrifice, benefits not only their families, but all Americans. From this grassroots economic development to work, these minority entrepreneurs must have access to capital, have the opportunity for private sectors and government contracts, and have confidence that their elected officials will support policies for all small businesses to be successful, especially those from underserved communities. This is why we are very concerned that political systems that have given us a vibrant entrepreneurial economy is now being threatened by those who want to tear down our democracy and replace it with an autocracy. And in autocracy, the will of the voters will no longer serve the interests of politicians because they have manipulated or changed election laws to serve their interest. If this happens, it will be much harder for minorities to build family wealth, and in communities of color will never achieve that better local economy, and the economy of the whole state and nation will suffer. We're also proud supporters of the Wisconsin Business for Democracy Collaborative because we must keep democracy free and fair and secure elections that provide us with a thriving economy where all, including racial minorities, can benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mathias. Thanks. So, again, we appreciate the Latino Professional Association being part of the Business for Democracy Collective. And so, but we're not alone. You know, there are 8 other states that are forming Business for Democracy Collectives. And those states include Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, California, Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. And so that's how many small businesses and regions understand how important this is. And we're very proud to be affiliated with the American Sustainable Business Network. Now, the reason that we're doing this today is that we surveyed Wisconsin's House and Senate candidates, and we said, there are 3 voting reform laws before Congress, and would you support them? And again, our position is not to take a position to support a candidate, but to bring issue awareness to the general voter. And so, and of those candidates, 4 came back and said they would support the 3 voting reform laws. And so those voting reform laws include the Electoral Count Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and the Freedom to Vote Act. And so we have actually, and so all the candidates were invited to participate and to issue a statement. Unfortunately, so Mandela Barnes was one of the people that supported it. So unfortunately, he can't be here with us today because he's getting ready for a debate tonight. House candidate Mike Van Someren is here today, and he supports him. House candidate Brad Plouffe supports him, and House candidate Dick Osmond. And so, with that said, I'd like to have Mike Van Someren come up and say a few words on why he supports this. Mike, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mike Van Someren. I am the Democratic nominee for the 5th Congressional District. My background is I am a business lawyer and a shareholder of Wisconsin law firm. So I work with businesses on a daily basis. I understand small, medium, and large businesses and their needs and the importance of democracy to those businesses. Participation in and voting in free and fair elections and the peaceful transition of power have been the cornerstone of our country since founding. On January 6, 2021, these cornerstones were attacked by people who tried to substitute their will for that of the majority of the American people. This violent and horrifying act did not represent most Americans on either side of the aisle, but it did serve as a reminder that democracy is fragile and is under attack. One party has continued the attack on America's democracy by challenging the legitimacy of elections, gerrymandering of legislative maps, and passing laws that make it harder for Americans to vote and easier for candidates to receive anonymous donations. My opponent, the incumbent career politician Scott Fitzgerald, has never adequately condemned the violence of January 6th, the attempted subversion of democracy, and he continues to spread lies about the security of our elections and to undermine the very idea of America. Frankly, as a business person, there's little more important than knowing the security of our economy is backed up by the laws that are enforced without fear or favor. That's why we can count on our contracts being upheld in court regardless of the party in power. The disinterest in the rule of law by the current Republican Party is anti-American and should be scary to anyone doing business in the United States of America. As a student of history, a business lawyer, and a passionate believer in American democracy, the current state of democracy has me gravely concerned. Our most fundamental right as Americans is the right to vote for our leaders and make our voices heard through that vote. And we as Americans should demand that this fundamental right to be a government of the people be protected above all others. To do this, we need federal legislation that creates a clear baseline of voting protections for citizens of every state in the United States that wish to provide more protections and take additional steps to increase the integrity and ease of voting should be free to do so as long as they meet these basic standards. Thank you so much, and thank you to the collaborative for having me here.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate your comments. So what I'd like to do is also read some comments that were furnished to us by Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. So his comments are, it's clear that our democracy is on the ballot this year. Wisconsin needs a United States senator who won't give into dark money, try to pass forward fake electors, and undermine voters' voice. I am committed to stopping special interest groups from influencing our elections, reaffirming the fundamental right to vote, and making sure Wisconsin voices are heard. Democracy is established for and by the people, and I will always protect that. So that was Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. We also received comments from House candidate Dick Hausman. And so he wrote, I believe in our democracy and Constitution. I would never conspire to overturn a free and fair election and block the peaceful transition of power. I believe we should make it easier for all people to vote and would never work to support voter suppression. I will not despoil what previous generations have died for to create and preserve. And then State Senator Brad Clough writes, democracy is on the ballot this year. Our democracy cannot afford to send someone to Congress who had less than 2 years ago tried to burn our country down, as my opponent did. We need someone who understands the district and is committed to bringing home real results from Washington. I'm the candidate who will do that and will always defend our democracy and the Western Wisconsinites first. So we appreciate those candidates. Again, the collaborative does not take a position on endorsing candidates, but what we do want to do is we want to make sure folks understand where candidates are on these voting reform issues. And so with that, we'd like to thank you for attending today, and we can take any questions that you have.
Just curious, short of endorsing any candidates, are there steps or are there things that the coalition kind of plans to do between now and the November election to kind of help spread this word, try to make sure the public is informed on these issues?
Yeah, I mean, so all of us, we're small business owners, and one of the things that we do, we really learn how to communicate effectively with our teams and our employees. Part of the work that Camille is doing and that Mathias is doing with their constituencies is raising the profile of what is on the ballot and what's going on. I mean, that's kind of what our job is. So as a business owner, my job and our job is to provide good customer service. And so what we need to do as employers is remind our teams that we need them to do a good job in participating in democracy. And part of what that is taking time to understand the issues and how it affects them. And so we'll be doing that from a small business standpoint. I encourage other small business owners to do that and other leaders of not-for-profit organizations. And those are steps that both Camille and Mathias will be doing as part of their organization. So we're real committed to bringing a higher profile to this issue, and especially encouraging our elected officials to support the Voting Reform Act.
Is there something specifically that has driven you guys to do this, or today actually is the January 6th committee meeting? Was this that event or other things that led you guys to speak out about this issue?
Well, I think one of the things as small business owners is, what allows a business to grow is consistency and stability. And so anybody who's a seasoned small business owner will understand that. And I think one of the things that we recognize as small business owners and participants within our community is that when democracy is in chaos, when our elected officials are in chaos, we can't grow our businesses because things become so politically partisan. I mean, and I'll give you an example. Part of the challenge that even when you talk about a nonpartisan group to talk about something like voting and getting people up, some business owners get real shy about that because they're worried about political repercussion. And I give everybody in here a lot of credit because we're willing to stand up here and say, you know what, yeah, there may be some political repercussion, but this is that important. And so, that's why we're doing what we're doing, is that we know how important it is, and we want to see our businesses grow. We want to pay people more. We want to see people do better. What allows us to do that is making sure that we've got a good, stable economy and we've got a foundation to grow from.